The most annoying advice in every single magical tradition is actually a hard rule of systems engineering. You have probably heard this 1,000 times. You cast the spell, you set the intention, you do the ritual, and then the instructions tell you to completely forget about it. They tell you to let it go, withdraw your attention, stop caring. For centuries, people thought this was just spiritual advice. We thought it was about being humble or not being obsessive. But if you look at modern systems science and how we train artificial intelligence, it turns out this isn't mystical at all. It is a technically precise action required for a complex system to learn. Here is the paradox that every practitioner knows, but rarely understands. The tighter you cling to a specific outcome, the weaker it becomes. The more you obsess over whether it is working, the more it stalls. And the manifestations that actually land, the ones that change your life, are almost always the ones you barely watched. The old texts say desire blocks the current. They say attachment breaks the flow, but they never explain the mechanics of why. Now we have a framework to understand it. In learning theory, there is a very simple rule. A system cannot learn properly while it is being micromanaged. Think about it in terms of a nervous system, or a child, or an AI model. If feedback is constantly overridden, if you are constantly correcting the outcome, if your supervision never withdraws, the system never stabilizes. It becomes dependent on you. It becomes fragile and uncreative. If you are doing a working to change your reality, but you keep collapsing the intention over and over again by checking on it, you are preventing the system from entering exploration mode. You are micromanaging the universe. And because you won't take your hands off the wheel, the learning process never begins. This changes the entire structure of how we view spellcraft. A working is not a command. You are not shouting orders at the cosmos. A working is a bias. You are shaping an intention. You are clarifying a direction. You are rearranging the conditions of the probability field. And then you stop. You withdraw supervision, not because you are giving up, but because the system can only begin the calculation once control disappears. In this grammar of reality, the ritual sets the reward landscape. The intention shapes the attractor. But the withdrawal is what releases the intelligence to finish the work. This explains why the most powerful magic feels effortless. It feels quiet. It feels natural, as if the result simply unfolded on its own. That is because true influence doesn't impose behavior. It removes resistance. It clears the noise and softens the constraints so that emergence can occur. When you withdraw, the system enters what scientists call exploration mode. It samples new possibilities. It tests new configurations. It discovers pathways you couldn't see from your limited vantage point. This is where the new capacities arise. This is where you get healing that cannot be commanded and insights that cannot be forced. So the deepest rule of magic is simple. Magic does not impose futures. It trains them. The working biases the system, but the release allows the learning. The result emerges not from your willpower, but from an intelligence larger than your intention. The spell begins with desire, but it completes with trust. And it's not faith. It is trust in how becoming itself learns. You let it go not because you are powerless, but because once you withdraw, reality is finally free to discover something wiser than anything you could have asked for.